Previously on Future Fiber.
This is your host Jenny, and it's that time of the year. She's definitely coming with me next year. I don't know if I'm going to keep this. Curses. You are the winner of Project Runway.
And I will edit the accessories into a separate video.
So this year has been my first real foray into sock knitting. So I have a couple of sock knitting projects that I have on here, and I'll kind of talk about them together because mostly they all have the same problems. So I knit a couple of vanilla socks. One that I knit was using Madeline Tosh sock yarn, and it's in this variegated color purple way. And then I gave it contrasting toe heel cuff with Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the colorway, I believe, purple elephant. And a lot of these socks have the same problem, and it's that I was trying to use up my advent calendar socks from last year, or advent calendar yarns from last year. I got a Biscotti Yarns advent calendar for the holidays, and so I was trying to use up a lot of those yarns, and also a lot of like scrap fingering weight yarns that I had. So the combinations of fibers necessarily weren't the best. It seems like I knit, yes, that purple vanilla sock, and I also knit another sock with a Flegel heel, and that was using a leftover Chopin Vol Zauerball. The colorway was Garden Party, and I had knit my friend a gift sock with that as well. So I was trying to use up that sock, use up the sock yarn, and I think those are the two vanilla socks that I made, and they had fibers in it that weren't really great for machine washing. The sock with the Flegel heel, the actual majority of the sock was knit using the Zauerball, but then I ran out of yarn basically, and I had to make up the top of it with the cuff with something else. So I finished it off using Cascade 220, but it was the fingering weight that was untreated, so it's not the superwash or sock, like nylon sock yarn. And I put that in the wash accidentally, and it felted, and I did that to a lot of my socks, which is why I don't have a lot of them right now. But those are like the two like vanilla-ish socks that I made. I also made the ruffle socks by Petite Knit, and then those had the same problem. I haven't felted those yet, but I can't find them. But they were made with Biscotti yarns, just like a white cream off-white yarn, sock yarn. And that part is fine, but then I ran out of yarn, so I also used some Cascade 220 that I had, the fingering weight that's also not superwash, and now I can't put that sock in the wash. And I'm realizing that I am a person who is very lazy and not incredibly I'm a little forgetful when it comes to things that go in the wash. So I will not be knitting any more socks that are not made from sock specific yarns. That's just a learning from my sock adventures this year. There's actually one last sock. This is the most recent sock that I finished actually, and it's on my feet right now. So I don't know if I should probably just take off the sock and show you. Sorry, it's a little disgusting. But this sock is the Downton Abbey socks, and looks like this. And this is a free pattern on Ravelry, and the designer is Urbane, I believe. And the pattern comes in French and in English. And I actually recommend this pattern because I think it's a pretty easy, once you get into it, it's a pretty easy and simple repeat of this lace motif. I think it looks really nice with this kind of like just simple color. So if you want to try lace socks a go, I would definitely give this a try. And this, I think, is the most successful sock of this year because I did put this in the wash a couple times, and it even made it into the dryer, and it survives. So that is just a testament to this yarn, which is Biscotti Yarns sock yarn. And I can't remember the colorways because they all came in an advent calendar.
Editing Jenny here, and I realized that I forgot a very important sock. I really thought I got everything. I don't know how this happened. Well, let's talk about the Aesthetic socks This is a pattern by Cool Stitches, Nicole. I test knitted this sock pattern for her, so I don't even know how I forgot. This is a DK weight pattern. It's knit up with a strand of fingering weight sock yarn plus a mohair held together. So that creates the DK sport-ish weight. This sock is top down, and you start from the cuff and then you work your way down to the toe. The stitch counts for this, I believe they come in 3 different sizes based on width of your foot. This is like, I think, my record knit. I knit this guy up in literally 2 days or something like that. Crazy. I really enjoyed knitting up this pattern, and I would actually consider this a success despite it having mohair, so I can't put this in the can't put this guy in the washer. I took really good care of it, basically, and that's because I really like wearing it, and I made sure to leave it out. Yeah, I this was a really enjoyable knit. I would definitely knit this again. I'm actually planning to knit this again, but I am trying to do it with machine washable yarn. So whether that be holding this double with 2 fingering weight yarns, sock yarns, or getting a DK weight sock yarn, I just want to be able to wear this a little bit more often, and not have to worry about it, baby it a little bit much. Although it has worn remarkably well, it does have some pilling and felting in the heel area. Right there, you can kind of see it there. But overall, for how much I wore this guy, it's doing pretty good. I also wore this outside, like I wear it with shoes, but I don't think it's actually intended to be worn with shoes. This is like a room sock kind of thing. But yeah, held up really well, super warm, kept me warm on a ski trip. It's also kept me warm on a trip to Vermont where it was like negative 30 degrees Fahrenheit. That's pretty cold. So overall, yeah, very good, successful. I would definitely do this again. I think all of those things being considered, I would say for me this year, socks as a category has been kind of an out. I'm sorry you're going home, I'll feed this in, because I had to baby so many of my socks that I got this year, and it just wasn't like a pleasant experience trying to fish them out of the wash and being like, oh my god, I felted another one, and that is completely my fault, as is everything that I'll talk about, because I did this to myself. But I just think, yeah, I hope with the learnings from this year, next year's socks will be definitely an in, so we'll see. Let's move on to just regular accessories. The first thing that I have on this list here is a pair of split mittens. And this is a pattern by Winwick Mum. And this is, I believe, also a free pattern. And I knit this up with some stash yarn. I mean, most of this is stash yarn, but I had this yarn from a couple years ago. This is knit with Barocco Mochi in the colorway Blueberry, I think. So that's what's giving it all the little flecks and stuff. And it's like a blown tube kind of yarn. Oh, but the Barocco Mochi is held with a strand of Lion Brand, feels like butter. Butter is what the yarn is called. And this was a quick little project to just kind of, have mittens for myself. And I think I knit the wrong size. So 2 problems. First, I didn't knit enough of the length in the actual glove. So this is where the wrist starts, but then my wrist is a little bit lower here. So overall, the glove is a little short. And the next thing is that the cuff is pretty wide. And I think I should have done some decreases or maybe put in some elastic, because the problem that is happening with these gloves is that if I do this, it falls off my hands. And so I'll be walking around and my hands are down like this and my gloves are on the ground. So, that's, yeah, I've used these a lot, but I think I'll have to make some modifications for them to really not go home this week. These, I would say, are a bit of
a miss because of that. But the pattern itself is very well written, and I do like that you can, do this, and then you can text, and then you can put your glove back on. You don't have to, push it down all the way like this. This is just like a habit that I got from my skating coach, because he always had gloves like this so that he could, like write with his marker on the ice, so that it doesn't get all over his hands. Anyway, that's kind of a tangent. The next thing that I have here for accessories is the Serpent Baclava by Milena Polina. And this is... where did I put it? This is knit with a sock yarn held together with a strand of mohair. I think because I have a hair clip on, it's going to be hard to get this on, but it's like this. It has these frills on the edges, and I think I made some modifications to this, but the yarn that I use for this is a superwash sock yarn. I think it's called Fiber Spates Coop Knits Socks, or something like that, and it's the colorway Xenon, I believe. I mean, it's the only hot pink one there, so it's like you'll figure it out. It's held together with some scrap mohair I had left over, so there's actually two different mohairs in here. One is, I believe, Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. In the colorway, it's a purple colorway, and the other one was just a white one, and that's, I believe, Drops Kid Silk mohair. I got decent use out of this last winter because it's kind of nice to have this kind of thing where you put it on your head, but then you can pull it down and it kind of looks like a hood when you're inside, My main gripe with this, and this is my fault, I didn't have enough yarn really to knit this to pattern. So the modifications that I made were that the frills around the face are a bit short, so it looks a little bit like I was really expecting it to like really frame my face and stuff, but it doesn't do that. And then the next thing is that I cast off a little bit too tight for the neck, so it's a little bit difficult to get it over my head. You kind of saw me struggling to like put this on. That's kind of a bummer, but I think I made that mistake or decision because I didn't even have enough yarn to like bind off in a more loose way, and there's actually supposed to be an extra like couple rows of rib and a frill on the edge as well, ruffle, but I didn't do that because I didn't have yarn, so that was self-caused destruction. But this is the Serpent Baclava, and I would say I overall recommend the pattern. I think it's really well written and it looks really cute. Balaclavas, people may make fun of them, but they are really warm, so if you live in a cold climate, I recommend this. And then we had a scarf phase. Yeah, girl had some scarves that she made. There are actually, I believe, 3 like of these little bandana type scarves that I made this year, but I lost one of them. The one that I lost is the I Love Stripes scarf by Polystrict, and that was made with a silk fingering weight yarn that I got from Color Mart and a black sock yarn, King Cole cotton sock for the black part. And I really liked that scarf, but I can't find it anywhere. So I think I might have just like lost it outside because I turned my house upside down and I couldn't find it. So it's not in here, or maybe I'll find it when I move out of this place. But yeah, so that's kind of a bummer. But let me talk about these other 2 scarves. This one is a Sorgan free scarf, and this is a free pattern. I believe it was definitely free when I knit this pattern, but I don't know if it's still free, but you could get it at the time by signing up for the Indie Blumst newsletter on the website. And this is made with another of the Biscotti yarns advent calendar yarns. It was their yak blend, I believe, and this I got a lot of use out of this. This is a color that I wouldn't necessarily wear for myself. I don't really love browns like so close to my face, because it's not really my color season or whatever. But I did really like this because for when it was super cold and I just was wearing something like a crew neck like this and I really wanted to cover my neck, I could just throw this on and it was really warm and it feels really soft against the skin. For being a very simple kind of knit and purl stitch pattern, it looks really sophisticated, I believe. I really liked working with this yarn and with the pattern. So that was the sorghum-free scarf that I made. And I had another yak skein ball that came in that advent calendar. So I made this. And this is the scarf number 2 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This is obviously in a red color, but it's a little short here. So this one didn't get as much usage as the sorghum-free scarf because you can't tie it. Once you put it around your neck, you can't tie it twice. You can't wrap it around like another time to kind of tie it. It's a little short, as you can see. There are limitations to how I can wear this. If I did this again, I would probably knit to whatever the pattern tells you to do. I think the original pattern is a DK weight pattern, but I clearly knit this with fingering weight yarn. So yeah, I would do that. But I do like the pattern. This is another one of those like knit and purl patterns that looks a lot more impressive than it is, but it's like requires you to use your brain for. So I thought that was a nice little exercise for me. The last thing in my scarf era that I have here is this snake. This is a scarf that I knit using the Centro machine that I got for last Christmas, and this just is like a stockinette flat scarf. You can see that it's just one-sided like that, and I put the fringe on the bottom. And this is knit with Knit Picks Wonder Fluff. I think the colorway is Larkspur Heather. I really like this yarn and I like the color of it. I have a petite knit Sunday cardigan knit with this same yarn and it's worn pretty well. And I did get some use out of this, but this scarf is definitely going to be out. It's going to be auf Wiedersehen, going to be sent home, returned to its natural state, because I don't like how this curls up. I mean, it's stockinette, so you know, it's supposed to, but it doesn't have enough width for it to curl up and not look like weird. And I just think this yarn could be better served for me as like a head accessory, like a balaclava or a bonnet or something to cover the ears, or just a regular hat, something. Like, I think especially because I have some other of these like wraparound scarves that I made this year, this kind of lost its purpose, and while I like the color, she could be repurposed. So she's gonna be gone after this video. Alright guys, we're moving along. We're already on the second page of this post. We're already in the second post-it for the accessories. The next thing, we're entering bag era. Bag era comes around whenever it's like summertime and I decide that I don't want to knit with woolly wools anymore, and I suddenly have this desire to crochet, which doesn't come around that often. So all these bags are crocheted. The first one is just this scrappy crochet tote, and this was inspired by a post that I saw, I believe by Milena Polina, that she made on Instagram. This is like, so many people knit crochet totes like this, so it's not that special, but I think it's special for me in the way that this is all of, I used a lot of my scrap yarns, like little bits, so you can see which parts are taken from parts of my other projects, I guess. And I had a lot of these cotton yarns, cotton fingering weight yarns that I didn't know what to do with, and I was able to use up a lot of that in here. That's what you're seeing with this like neon green and stuff, so I thought it was a nice way to use up my stash. And this got a ton of wear. I basically this was my daily bag for like the summer, and because of the blue detail. I think it goes really well with a lot of my clothes. A lot of my clothes are blue. The one thing that I might change is I put in a lining here, and the lining also, you know, has like a drawstring that you can close like this, and I put in a little tag here. This lining is too small for this bag because the bag stretched out, and then the lining of course did not. So I need to either remake this, or I need to just rip it out and maybe make another bag that fits this lining instead. So I'm debating what to do. I think I might just rip it out and use this like this, as it is. I know some people get worried about like being out and about and having a bag that kind of like is like open and doesn't have any sort of closure, because of like maybe fear of like somebody reaching in there and grabbing something. But really, like I don't know, I have nothing to rob. So although if I put in a project in here, the likelihood that a needle is going to poke through this is very high, and I've scared a couple people with that as well. So maybe, you know, anyway, so that's bag number 1. Bag number 2 is, this is the bag that caused Chocolate Gate, is what I call it. But this, the bottom of the bag has this leather portion, and I just posted a picture like this and people thought it was chocolate pie. But this is a Rafia bag that I made from following a YouTube tutorial. I'll link it down below what the YouTube tutorial was. But it's inspired kind of by like those Dragon Diffusion canage bags, like this kind of like ladder pattern. This is made from like a paper yarn. I don't recommend this yarn anyways, so maybe it's fine that I don't remember what the yarn is called, but I purchased the yarn on Etsy. I think you could do this with any Rafia yarn. I know Wool and the Gang makes a decent one. This also got some pretty good use. I think this is less of a daily wear kind of thing, and it's like when you want to kind of look like a summery, beachy gal, but you are not going grocery shopping, because this holds not that much. Although you could definitely put like bubble tea in here, you know, like you could put a boba or two in here and you would be ready to go. Following this is another Rafia bag, and this is made with a Korean Rafia yarn. I like this one much better than that other one, because this really does feel like Rafia, and it has this kind of like coated feel to it, but I think it's the Aloha Rafia yarn. I don't know if you can get it in the States. You might have to Google on or look on Etsy or something like that for sellers that ship overseas. This bag pattern was inspired by a Korean designer who sells like kits of Rafia bags and also like pre-made Rafia bags. And her Instagram handle, I'll put it up here as well, but it's Lolo Handworks, and she makes a lot of really cute designs, and I was inspired to kind of create something similar. So this is what I came up with. This also has a leather bottom, and then the leather is yeah, just like a lighter tan color to match the lighter color of this Rafia yarn. And I got a lot more use out of this one than the other one, because this one is a little bit bigger, so I was able to shove a lot more stuff in it, which is the primary reason. And I just found that this has the lip gloss that I've been looking for the past 6 months in here. This is probably expired now. I probably shouldn't put this on, but you know what. Alright. Nice. We can't leave bag era without talking about the most useless bag that I created this year, which is this little AirPods case. I saw a Celine AirPods case that basically looked like this. It's Rafia construction for the actual case part, and it has these like metal findings, and that guy was like $600. I didn't have $600, but I had like 10 to spend on all the extra like findings and stuff. So I got all this leather bits on Etsy, and then I had just enough of the Rafia yarn left to just single crochet. This is a rectangle on the bottom, and then there's just, you know, in the round until it fit an AirPod. And this is what I came up with. And this is, I'm going to be totally honest with you, I didn't use this at all. I didn't use this at all this year, but you know what? It's funny. Probably should have made a video of me doing this because I don't know. I think it's a funny little guy. And he's definitely useless, but he's definitely going to stay with me. He is definitely not going home. He is in. So, bags. I think bags was overall a pretty much success this year. I would say none of them are going to be going home. I think every year in the summer, I just feel like I don't want to carry like a proper handbag or whatever, but I want something that's a little bit different from a, like a tote bag, like a fabric tote bag, and having these handmade, crocheted, knit bags is a nice shake up from the monotony of my bags that I have. Yeah, it's pretty much the only thing that I do with crochet. We're almost done with the accessories. Okay, winter season. I have with me still 2 of the gift knits that I made for other people this year. And the first one that I'll show off is the bridge arm warmers. And this is for a friend that I haven't met up with yet before after the holidays, so I will give this to her when I see her. But I finished this literally yesterday, and this is the 1st of January that I'm filming this. And so I still decided to include this guy in what I made in 2023, because I did finish it in 2023. This is made from LFG Surrey sock and held together with Drops Kid Silk Mohair in the colorway blue. The pattern is a free pattern on Ravelry, and the modifications that I made to it is that this is just regular 1x1 ribbing instead of the half twisted rib. But I don't know if you can really tell. This was a really quick knit. I think you could probably finish these if you sat down in like one day, pretty much. Because to me, these are I knit these up with 5mm needles, but the original is done up with bulky weight yarn and 6mm needles. So if you follow the pattern exactly, you would really get these done like lightning fast. Even with the modifications that I made, this was like a couple hours project. So if you need some gift knits, I would definitely recommend this. Not much to say because it's a gift knit. It's a matter of if she likes it versus whether or not I like it, but I think it feels very plush and seems like it'll be warm. And she has smaller hands than me. I know when I put it on, like half my hand was sticking out, but her hand is like literally like that. So she's got baby hands. It's gonna do very well for her. So that was one of the last knits of 2023 for me. And then another gift knit that I haven't managed to give yet is this cat ear hat. And this was knit using the Centro machine. And this is made from Lion brand Feels Like Bliss. And this is just like a 100% nylon yarn that kind of has this like brush texture to it. And it's really, really soft, so I think it'll do really well for babies. Really easy. I don't have a pattern for it, but this is just you stocking it long tube, like through the Centro machine, just crank out the entire ball of the yarn. You Kitchener stitch the top so that it's like the seamless little guy over here, and then I just folded up the purl side and then slip stitched or whip stitched it by hand down to the rest of the hat. I think if you were to do this with like non-fuzzy yarn, you could probably use the Oslo hat pattern by Petite Knit, and then instead of doing the decreases on the top, just knit it a longer tube till you get to the top of the head, and then do the same thing where you Kitchener the top here, and you're done. Like this is just a rectangle, and because you put it on your head and your head is round, it gives you these cat ears. So this is going to a friend's family, and I'll see her potentially this weekend, so this will be gone by then. But this is also one of the last knits of 2023. I have a final crochet item that I made. And that is this Wreath. It's called a Wreath tree skirt. That's the pattern that I used. And this is also a free pattern on Ravelry. And I did this because I needed a tree skirt. And this is crocheted with Lion Brand Hometown yarn. And it's just this like off-white cream color, the 100%, you know, acrylic bulky weight yarn. Yeah, I mean, not really much to say about it because like this was done out of necessity rather than like me really wanting to do this. And I kind of messed up the crochet pattern, so it sits more like a cape rather than a proper flat tree skirt. But it served its purpose, and she will be now retiring to the back of the closet until next year. I have to take her out. And maybe before I put her away, I'll, you know, sew in these ends. Not pictured also are 3 or 4 gift knitted hats. Used a lot of petite knit hat patterns. So they were the Oslo hat, weekend hat, and Oslo hat, weekend hat, and I think hipster hat were the 3 things that I knit. I knit a lot of hats for other people, but I obviously don't have them with me. And I don't have photo documentation either, so you'll just have to take my word for it. So, accessories wrap up. How many did I make? According to this, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 23 accessories. 23, 24, give or take. It is a shame that some of them were lost and some of them didn't work out, but I would say overall it's been a pretty successful accessories knitting year for me. I did use most of them, and even the ones that I didn't get a lot of use out of, I can repurpose them. So that's the joy of, you know, yarn crafts. So
I don't have a proper outro for this video, but I would like to thank everybody for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye!